Ahoy hoy, I'm Planet Walk, and I was going through YouTube looking for a video to debunk, and I came across a video with a very interesting title. Can a flying cow save SciManDan's tarnished reputation? Now, I had no idea that SciManDan had such a tarnished reputation, so I decided to click on the video, and who should it be but a good old friend, Level Earth Observer. Now, because of the nature of it being a flat earther saying that SciManDan has such a tarnished reputation, I was rather skeptical because flat earthers seem to overhype these kinds of things. I mean, how many times have I been told that I have completely destroyed my own reputation? I've been told it many times, yet I think people are still watching me. So let's take a look and see what LEO has to offer here.
Can a flying cow save SciManDan's tarnished reputation? Let's have a look. SciManDan, in case you don't know, is the globe's top representative online.
Wow, I'm sure SciManDan will be happy to know that he's now been elected the top representative for the globe online. I thought that honour went to Neil deGrasse Tyson, but it seems that it's now gone to SciManDan. So congratulations, Dan!
And he's actually made a bit of a boo-boo recently, as if his reputation wasn't bad enough. Defending airfix models and CGI and all sorts of nonsense, yet he can't cite any kind of demonstrable science despite being supposedly a man of science.
You know, it's rather funny that flat earthers say, all you've got is CGI, you've got no science. Yet, flat earthers don't use any kind of science to show that what we've got is just CGI. So here's my challenge to LEO or any other flat earther that might be watching. Use science to prove that this from the Himawari satellite is just CGI.
If that wasn't bad enough, we're going to revisit Dan's infamous "physics says so" statement claims. And it would seem someone's trying to rescue Dan's tarnished reputation. We've got one of his minions, and we've got a flying cow. You can't make this stuff up.
Well, this certainly sounds like it's going to be entertaining. Whoever decided to bring the flying cow along for the ride, they ought to be congratulated.
First, let's just revisit Dan's claims, and then we'll look at the evidence that's been put forward to try and save SciManDan's tarnished reputation.
You know, LEO keeps on saying that SciManDan has a tarnished reputation, but never actually provides any evidence of that. Maybe he's going for the Matt Powell has an inflatable banana in his backyard which he calls Dr. Peel line of reasoning.
Just looking at Dan there, I'm wondering what's going on in that great mind there. What's he thinking?
Trust me, LEO, whatever SciManDan is thinking right there, you're not going to be able to understand it.
Anyway, back to Dan's claims. The infamous "physics says so." Gigantic pendulums do not have the ability to be dead still and plumb on a non-windy day on a rotating, wobbling, oscillating cannonball that's doing ridiculous speeds in all different directions.
Yes, they do, because physics says so.
I love the fact he said that so confidently and has blown it so much with that statement and tarnished his already terrible reputation.
I guess I've underestimated SciManDan because it seems that he is becoming like Neil deGrasse Tyson with the amount of times that flat earthers just take what he said and take it completely out of context. I do wonder if LEO realizes that SciManDan said other things in that video. Like, sure, he said physics says so, but he also said things about how LEO is just Dunning-Krugering things.
And let's not forget, I even offered to buy one of these masterpieces, these beautiful works of art, and in turn support a local artist, and of course that could go on the crane wall where it could mock me daily. Remember, Dan said physics says so, i.e. that tower cranes can be dead still on a spinning, wobbling, oscillating cannonball that's doing ludicrous speeds in all different directions. But when I called it on, the wall remained blank.
Well, I'm sure LEO's judgment of this is completely unbiased and has nothing to do with him just wanting to be right regardless of whether he's shown wrong or not. But anyway, I am actually going to explain why physics does say that yes, tower cranes can be perfectly still on a spinning globe. Make sure you pay attention, LEO. Alright, so here we've got our tower crane and we've got this part is the part that we're interested in, and we want to know if this part here can be completely still even though the Earth is moving. So to figure out whether this should be moving or not, we need to know the net force that is acting upon it. If the net force is 0, then it should be still. If the net force is something other than 0, then it should be moving. There are a few caveats which we'll get to later. I'm also going to be using acceleration rather than newtons because acceleration does simplify everything down a lot. But it shouldn't change anything. Alright, so first thing that we've got to consider is this thing that is 9.81 meters per second acceleration downwards. That's called gravity. But of course we have other forces that are acting upon it, and one of the forces that I'm sure Leo would point to is the centrifugal force, which will be acting in the opposite direction to gravity. Now the magnitude of the centrifugal force at the equator is about 3 centimeters per second squared, which is a lot less than the 9.81 meters per second due to gravity. When we add that together, we have a 9.78 meters per second squared acceleration towards the ground. Let's add another force in. So the most important force that we have to factor in here is the force that actually holds this mass up. You know, the cables. So the cables here actually provide a force. I believe that force is called tensile force. I may be wrong on that. I did not major in physics. But anyway, the force that these cables provide will actually be completely opposite to the forces that are acting on this mass here. So we've got a 9.78 meters per second acceleration towards the ground on this mass here. Well, the reason why it doesn't just fall to the ground is because these cables provide a 9.78 meters per second acceleration in the other direction. So really what physics says is that any constant force that is acting upon this mass here is just going to be cancelled out by the tensile force of the cables. Although, as I said earlier, there are a few caveats. A major one being that none of this really matters because the accelerations that are acting upon the mass here are also acting upon the entire tower crane, meaning that the net acceleration for this mass is the same for this part of the tower crane, it's the same for this part of the tower crane, same for this part of the tower crane, which is the same for the ground, I'd hope at least. Which means that if everything's moving at the same speed, then everything will be completely still relative to one another. That's physics for you. Now some people may say, well actually, they wouldn't quite be moving at the exact same speed because this part, this mass here, would be moving slightly slower than this part here because things that are closer to the center of the Earth are moving slower than things that are further away from the center of the Earth. And that is correct. However, they would still be moving at the same angular speed, which means that everything would still be relative to one another in this. Now, if Leo wants to dispute anything that I've said here, he is welcome to, but he has to use physics to back up any claims that he is making, like I have.
You would have thought Dan would want that poster on the wall to mock me and prove the globe physically true. But the wall remains bare, like a wall of shame for the globe's top boy. The hero.
Hey Leo, just so you know, if you like SciManDan that much, you can always get the poster, stick it up on the wall, and just not tell anyone about it. Just a little tip.
So as we leave the wall of shame and join one of SciManDan's minions, I'm going to ask you again. Can a flying cow save SciManDan's tarnished reputation? Well, let's have a look.
Here's your practical demonstration.
Read 'em and weep, boy.
Bearing in mind the claim is pendulums is supposed to be proving that tower cranes can be dead still and plumb, spinning, wobbling, oscillating, cannonball, doing ludicrous speeds in all different directions. I can't see the rope attached to the cow, but I can see the rope hanging off the cow. That's definitely not plumb, that's deviated.
So I've got a quick question for Leo that anybody that knows any kind of science should be able to answer, right? What force might be acting upon that rope that's hanging off the cow that I didn't mention here? Can you get it? But you know, this cow stuff, as entertaining as it is rather confusing because I feel like Leo isn't giving us any kind of context. So, Mr. Sensible, do you want to explain what's been going on here?
Poor old Adam.
He's getting a right kicking lately, isn't he? Wolfie 6020, myself, Mr. 42, Where's Wally, and now you plan a walk. But then he is a silly goose, isn't he? So I think a quick catch up on the story so far is in order. Well, surprise, surprise, Adam insisted that tower cranes proved the Earth must be flat and stationary, as tower cranes couldn't operate on a whirling, twirling ball Earth that's spinning faster than a politician. So I showed him this giant crawler crane, showed it carrying a load, showed it travelling along without the load swinging and gyrating wildly. Of course, as expected, Adam ignored it. He ignored it just like he ignored Wolfie 6020's pendulum on an aircraft. No surprise there. So after SciManDan had a pop at Yellow Earth Observer saying tower cranes will work because physics, Adam showed this, a drone with a weight on a pendulum, and he laughed manically, saying how ridiculous it is. Took no account of masses and inertia and momentum and the fact that the drone's flying all over the place. So I basically said,
"Oh, well, allow me to retort."
And I showed him this video of cows being rescued in Switzerland. They're being carted around by helicopter and they are not swinging and gyrating wildly and manically. Of course, once again, Adam decided to ignore me. Now Adam complained about the camera angles I chose. Well, news for you, Adam, I didn't choose the camera angles. That's just the filming that I managed to get hold of. However, I've been sent these two excellent clips by the Iceman. Again, helicopters carrying loads. This time they're static loads, not a moving load like an animal. The helicopter seems to manage to carry the load. There is no swing. The load is hanging plumb. The only movement is the movements induced by the changes in direction or height of the helicopters. It's no different to cranes, Adam. So let's have a look at a tower crane. We'll let Adam commentate because he's such an expert.
And it's lowering. Oh, it's getting harder to control. We got some oscillations.
Already we can see the problems. The crane, the pendulum is swinging all over the shop. Bearing in mind, Nicholas's drone's not doing ludicrous speeds in all different directions. No. He's actually trying to help you guys out here. But look how out of plumb and how much this thing is swinging. And it's not even 2 meters in height as far as the pendulum. So imagine this thing being 1,000 foot tall.
That's no good. That's hard to control, huh? Wow.
Look at this thing.
In actual fact, that video was demonstrating how to actually counteract the swing that you can get in the block on a tower crane. The question you've got to ask yourself, Adam, is why would the block ever swing on your flat and stationary Earth? Perhaps for other reasons. Conservation of momentum, inertia. Just like with those loads hanging below helicopters, there is no reason for a crane not to work on a rotating globe. In other news, Adam, I'm still waiting for you to email me so we can have this debate. The current fund for a charity of your choice, if you debate me, win or lose, stands at £3,100. Come on, Adam, email me. Don't be yellow now, will you, Mr. Observer? Until next time, stay sensible.
Thank you, Mr. Sensible. Make sure you go check out his channel if you haven't already. And I think the sensible thing to do here would be to end up the video here. Elio really doesn't seem to have any better arguments than, look at my tower crane, guys. Did you know that I work with tower cranes? But let's hope that Elio actually tries and tackles some of the things that I've said in this video. Although, I kind of doubt that he will. But anyway, leave a like and subscribe if you liked this video. Make sure you ring the bell notification so that you actually get notified of when I post new videos. As always, a big shout out to my $20 or more patrons. What Jesus, Hugh Jarsz, M.C.Nutkin, Jane Spade, SHaKie, Wolfie, Morrie, Graymore Ghost, KidVicious, and Sacha Campbell. If you want to support me financially, you can do so on Patreon. There should be a link there. But anyway, I will see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching.